Nobody talks about cars anymore. Why is that? That's because normal car folks don't buy cars, they buy SUVs. But there's a little known secret. There's still a car that sells, and it comes from, probably not a surprise, Toyota. The #1 selling car, not a truck, in the US is the Camry, so they decided to update it. Unless you've been living under a rock, the roads in our great country, as well as pretty much every country in the world, have been littered with SUVs. Why? Because they're popular, which means the likes of Ford and General Motors and what Chrysler is called nowadays, they don't make cars anymore, they just make SUVs. However, there has been one contrarian investor, and that has been Toyota. They've been kind of the 800-pound gorilla in the space really for a very long time, since the 90s with the Camry. So they've continued to invest in the Camry, and the only ones that are still around in the sedan space. So that's why they've elected to make a pretty sizable change to the Camry. Now, is it a totally 100% new car? Not exactly. It's the same platform. You can see the daylight opening here is similar to the car that is outgoing, but there are some big changes to the sheet metal. I'd say this is more than a mid-cycle refresh. This is a heavy, heavy update. And the first thing you notice is the front of the car. Now, you remember when we first saw the new Toyota Prius, the now current gen Toyota Prius, and I was shocked to say that a Prius is sexy, because no one ever said that ever before. And some of the big change is what they're calling this hammerhead grille here, where the nose changes. It almost looks, I want to say, a little bit of Aston Martin on the top, but then maybe a little bit of AMG here, maybe a little bit of BMW in parts because it's somewhat angular. And then they have this unique light signature, which if someone told you this is going to be the light signature of a Toyota, like, sizable segment car, you wouldn't believe them even just like 3 years ago, but now this is the case. And that is the business of selling a car like this. And then come around to the back, or really the side. Take a look at the wheels on this one. They're fitted with either 18 or 19-inch wheels. Now, like all Toyotas, they have different grades. You're looking at the sporty XSE, but what they've done here, this one has a colored wheel. So there's a black wheel on the basic SE. This, they're calling this a smoke. So it's a machine finished, and I gotta say, it is a unique combination with this gray and then the two-tone black. They do the two-tone black on one of the grades, which, you know, I saw this when they first saw the last car, which was 2017. I was kind of surprised they would do something so aggressive on a Camry, but at least in California, I've seen a lot of people take this option. Now, this car, this is more subdued. I personally like this overall shape. Like, come on over here. You can see this has fitted with the sunroof. And what's interesting now, all of these, and we'll talk about the propulsion system, all of them are hybrid, where previously one couldn't have one of these things with a sunroof and a hybrid in all grades. Now one can have a sunroof and hybrid in all grades. And then you look at the overall shape to the side. Here, yes, the daylight opening is still very much the same, but they've made things a bit more angled here, and you can see the smaller wheels, they're a little bit more sedate. Notice I'm somewhat reticent to say this is the fancy flavor of Camry. This is the XLE, there is no longer a limited. But you look at this, especially from the back of the car, and you see that same light signature here. The trunk, like the rest of the design, they've sharpened some things up. Yeah, you see a little bit of BMW in here, specifically 2002 BMW 7 Series, and we're still seeing this design trend that was started by Chris Bangle. Now, those of you that are longtime viewers of the show know why I am personally partial to the blue, but there are 8 other colors on offer. And an important note here about the design, because to me, this is what the whole Camry, at least this now 9th gen Camry, is about. Because design is what sells cars. You eat with your eyes with a car like this, and I've said many times that the inflection point where we learned that actually was not Toyota, it was Hyundai. Back in 2010, they introduced the 2011 Elantra. And Elantra is a car nobody gets excited about. People got excited about it then, and that was the changing point for Hyundai, where people started to take them seriously, where prior to that, if you said I'm gonna comparison shop a Toyota, a Hyundai, a Subaru in like a cocktail party, you get laughed out of the room if you said Hyundai in 2010. But in 2012 and forward, people took you seriously because of that design change. It was kind of a 1-2 punch. It was the Sonata and the Elantra. Toyota kind of copied that strategy by making it look like this. And in this case, that strategy came from California. So you guys met Kevin Hunter. We talked to him about the Sequoia and the Tundra. This guy, amazingly talented designer. The FT1, which became the current Supra, the LC500, which you know I'm personally enamored of. Those were his sketches. He runs the design studio Calty in both Ann Arbor as well as Newport Beach, California. That's where this car was designed. But enough with the design, we do have to talk about the propulsion system. Now, previously with Camrys, there were different options for 4-cylinder gas, there was a V6 gas, and then there was a hybrid. Now, anything you want, as long as it's a hybrid. But what hybrid is it? Francisco, I want to punch in here. This is the 2.5 4-cylinder, naturally aspirated Atkinson cycle. This is the 2-motor solution, so what you're looking at here is, yes, a Toyota hybrid. This is a Toyota hybrid synergy drive. So this is not like the Tundra that Mike Swears brought to the market, where it's a single motor. That's kind of a mild hybrid. This is a full parallel hybrid, so there's 2 motors in the front here. It's on offer both as all-wheel drive as well as front-wheel drive. If it's front-wheel drive, it's 225 horsepower. If it's all-wheel drive, it's 232 horsepower. So then there's the question of, well, what's the difference? Well, the difference is this, like other Toyotas we first saw, I believe, in the Venza in this market, where it is rear drive through an electric motor rather than a drive shaft. Inside, it's simultaneously new as well as familiar. The new, you look at the design, and yes, it's all new for a Camry. However, the familiar is the general theme of the design. This kind of lifted from that Toyota Crown we saw about a year ago, specifically the way the screen stands out. In terms of the screens, this is very much like the strategy of many car companies, where the basic one, the SE, has a smaller screen here and a smaller screen here. What you're looking at is 8 inches here and 12.3 inches there. One thing that I love that Kevin and the team at Calty did, specifically Ann Arbor does the interiors, you have toggle switches here. You got real switches so you can feel the switch and keep your eye on the road. Because remember, where your finger goes, where your eye go. Then, believe it or not, head-up display. You can get that on a Toyota Camry. That kind of surprises me. However, you got to get the fancy one. You got to get the X-grades, meaning this XLE or the XSE. Then something very specific to this car. This is, again, I don't want to call it the fancy one because there's no limited, but this is the fanciest one on offer. Notice you got like this diamond stitch woven fabric, but more interesting here, that's what's called Dinamica. Now, again, longtime viewers of the show, you are thinking to yourself, that sounds very familiar. Where have I heard that before? I'll tell you where you heard it before. AMG, Mercedes. When you and I drive like $150,000 AMG GLE 63Ss with a suede steering wheel or a suede headliner, that's Dinamica. That's the brand, and now that is in a Camry. So call me surprised. Now, if you want leather, one can still have that, but that is only on offer in the XSE. Now again, a little known secret. As the likes of Ford, General Motors, and others have exited a segment, one would think there's less cars being sold, total sedans. In reality, Toyota's kind of proven by having a relevant product, and it wasn't just Toyota, it was Toyota, Kia, Hyundai that still kept sedans around, although some of those are exiting the market. The market actually has grown. That's why we're seeing more investment into design and make them look a little bit sharper. I, for one, am excited that cars are still alive because I believe that there will be a return home. Is it going to be a big return home? No, I think the shift to SUVs is permanent because, frankly, they're more usable. I am not a practical human being because you guys know what cars I drive, but this, for practical people that don't want something big, is an ideal solution, but now what doesn't have to do boring? I think that's really the headline here. That brings us to the wish list. Here I don't have a hell of a lot because you and I are not going to ask for like manual transmissions and that kind of stuff. I did propose a GR Prius in that episode, and I'm shocked how many of you were excited about it. So here's my wish list. This with the black roof and the fancy wheels, I'm surprised how many of them I see on the road. So how about a GR Camry. And granted, I'm not asking for like 500 horsepower, but how about 300 horsepower, maybe tuned where the rear electric motor, it's more rear-wheel drive biased, and something behind the scenes that you are not really understanding because you don't see the room here. While I give you the wish list here and you're hearing it, the chief engineer of this car is standing off camera, so he's actually hearing what I'm saying. So hopefully he does this. But I am one man, and this is the point of the episode that I turn around to you guys to apply in the comments below, or via our social media, MotoManTV, all one word, MotoManTV, all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that, if you found this fascinating, how about we talk about another sedan, but not a Toyota, but close in price, BMW 330e. That's also a hybrid. You can see that episode here. Until I see you in the next episode, bis später.